A small little request for you. I'm sure you enjoy these episodes, and if you do, please help us share and spread this happiness. All I'm asking you to do is not hit the share button, but instead share this video with one person who you feel will find value from it, and that will make all the difference in the world. Three, two, one. Good morning and welcome to sunny Saturday. We are in beautiful Wagga, Victoria Memorial Gardens, and it's such a beautiful sunny day. And welcome to Humans and Happiness, the show where we catch up with everyday humans like my friend here and understand their hacks and habits of how they lead an everyday happier life. My whole purpose and my whole intent is to spread real, genuine happiness. And that can only happen if you know, and I'm sure in your list you've got that one person, your one friend or your one family member who will find value in this. Please share it with them. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our happy human for today, Mr. Max Fallon. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, brother.
The reason why I'm so inspired by Max is he's actually what I would describe as the typical do not judge the book by its cover. I mean, look at him, right? I mean, when I first met him, obviously the first thing I like, this guy's a hard knock guy, fully built, fully, like full on. Like I'm not sure if I'll get along with him, but but man, once we started chatting, the layers that this gentleman has underneath him, I think I would describe in two very simple words: intellect and compassion and hard work. So three words: intellect, compassion and hard work. And that's why we've got Max today to talk about what his two most important powers and pillars have been in his life, which is of hard work and faith. So thank you, Max, for taking the time being with us today.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for that introduction, man. I've been trying to break that stereotype for years, so it's actually working with people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Max, will start you off like we do for everyone.
Yep.
If there was a book to be written about Max Fallon, how would the book start, and how would you like the book to end?
So it started in 1981. I was born in Victoria. Mm-hmm. My father is Australian and my mother's from the US. Mm-hmm. My father was in the Navy. Right. My parents, my mother came over here on a backpacking holiday.
Wow.
back in the 70s, and they met and fell in love, and sparks flew, and she stayed here. She stayed here, and they got married, and they had me. And we grew up. I've moved around a lot through my life.
Sure.
We grew up. My sort of earliest memories are back to being a kid living in Cronulla. But right. My dad was also posted overseas in Europe, so I've got photos of myself in France and crossing the English Channel and really cool stuff like that.
And these were the earlier years.
These are like I'm talking adult, like toddler kind of years.
Right.
So sadly, I don't remember that stuff. So I'd love to get back over there one day. And I started reading. That's the biggest thing. I started reading at probably age 14 or 15. I got really passionate about reading. I was very insecure as a teenager. Right. So because I was very tall and gangly, I grew very quickly. Sure. And I felt very uncomfortable in my body, and I felt very awkward and uncoordinated, and like I didn't fit in with all the kids that were all a head shorter than me. Right. I just didn't feel comfortable. And so I found a lot of solace in books. Wow. I would go into I would just go into the different times and places and put myself there, and it just gave me a lot of joy and a lot of peace, a lot of comfort.
So of all the books that you've read, which is the one book that has stuck with you and has inspired you the most?
Yeah, so like a work of fiction. It was a book called, there's a guy called Robert Shee, and he wrote, it was a book called Shike.
Shike, right.
And it's a historical fiction, and it's set in Japan, and it's during the time of the Mongol invasions and the early what was called the War of the Dragons, or the Genpei War, which was between two rivaling samurai clans. And so anyway, it's a bit of history, but there's a lot of philosophy right through it. It's about this guy who's part Mongol, part Japanese, and he was much like myself. He was way bigger than everyone around him, and he felt uncomfortable about it and stuff like that. And it just shows his journey through his own life philosophically, but it's got a real Zen Buddhism kind of theme to it.
Sure.
And it just switched my mind onto philosophy. It got me really interested and passionate about philosophy. And that was so I was really grateful to read that book, even though it was a work of fiction. There's a lot of genuine Buddhist Zen doctrine in there, or thought. And man, that switched my mind from just getting up in the morning and just putting one foot in front of the other, to actually thinking about the big picture, like what's the meaning of life, And so I'm really grateful for that. And just a little tip on reading, kids: just take your time. Don't be intimidated by the size of a book.
Yes.
You just start, and you just as long as it takes is as long as it takes. You might read 5 pages one day. You might read 5 chapters another day.
Like Max said, take it one bit at a time, and the concept is it's actually called stacking. Wherein you promise yourself that I'm going to do 15 minutes of this, or I'm going to do 10 minutes of this, and build up stacks of it. And that concept is applicable to anything in life, be it meditation, mindfulness. Don't look at it as a whole chunk of whatever it is that you want to acquire or conquer, but instead break it down into manageable, digestible stacks. That helps. So thank you
totally
for that.
Agree with that.
So how would you define ideal morals?
I'm a firm believer in the human conscience.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm convinced that we have a conscience that ties us into objective moral truths.
Right.
Can I give you this analogy?
Absolutely.
Can I give you this story? I might have done this with you before, but I think it's a beautiful thing. So there's 2 stories, right? There's a movie. There's a book by Dostoevsky that I've read called Crime and Punishment.
Right.
And there's a movie by Woody Allen called Crimes and Misdemeanors. Right. And you've got 2 different people. So you've got Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment, and you've got Judah Rosenthal. He's a lawyer.
Right.
He's a lawyer in Crimes and Misdemeanors. Right, totally different eras. One's in Russia, one's in New York. Right.
Sure.
So Raskolnikov. He have you read it?
No. But I'm already into it.
Okay, so
I'm with you on the journey.
So Raskolnikov, he's just growing up. He's just scrapping in Russia, like the 1800s, I think it is. Late 1800s, and he basically convinces himself to rob and murder a woman who's like a loan shark.
Convinces himself.
Yeah, he builds himself up to do it.
Right.
And through all this grandiose kind of self-building up kind of rubbish in his head. And he convinces himself to do it. He plans it. He goes in. He murders her. He robs her. Her sister surprises him, so he kills her too. And so anyway, what happens is, though, throughout the rest of the novel, he's actually quite a good guy, all told. You know what I mean? Which I believe we all have that. But he ends up, his conscience gives him so much hell and grief that he eventually ends up just confessing. And he goes and he does his time in Siberia, breaking rocks, and then he goes on and he finds love and he lives happily ever after. But it all comes out. And then you contrast that with this Judah Rosenthal. He's got a mistress on the side. He's got the happy life. He's got the wife and the kids, but he's got a mistress. And anyway, he gets to the point where the mistress blackmails him and says, if you don't cut it off with your family and stay with me, I'm going to tell your wife about us. And so this Judah Rosenthal has a brother who's in organised crime. And he says, no problem, bro. I'll just take care of her for you. I'll wipe her out. I'll kill her. And he agrees to it. So this guy has her killed. And at the end of the movie, just near the end of the movie, Judah Rosenthal's actually got to go back into her house because he's left something that he owns in the house. So he's got to get rid of the evidence that ties her to him. So he actually steps over her own dead body in the house to go and retrieve his wallet or whatever it was and leave. And it's just, and then at the end of the movie, he's just sitting around the dinner table with his family eating dinner. So what you've got is, why I told that story is it's about two deaths occur in that scenario. So you've got the death of a human being in Crimes and Misdemeanors, but you've also got the killing of a human conscience. So this Judah Rosenthal, he beat down his own conscience. He ignored it, and he compromised with it, and he eventually killed it. Whereas
Whereas like, wow. For a moment, you may take a break. I'm going to take a breather on this one, because you've brought up such valid concepts that all of us, and I mean all of us, battle in our lives of having some kind of a vice. Some kind of a vice, be it extreme like death, murder, robbery, whatever, or whatever, adultery, or whatever you want to call it, right? We all have it. So then my question to you is,
Yep.
how does one dig out the conscience?
Yeah. So in majority of circumstances, I think we all have a conscience, and we just need to listen to it. So when you feel that little, that's not right, man. You go, okay. Instead of just ignoring it and just pushing through to your desire, whatever it is that's going to get you in trouble, come back and go, wait a second, my conscience is telling me something here. What's going on? And just try and actually get in touch with your conscience. And I think you'll be getting in touch with objective moral values.
Is that easily done, as in that little voice that you talked about? Is that what you're saying, or that you're recommending, that listen to that little voice?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, yeah, like when you feel that little niggle, and we've all, and I'm sure I don't have to tell people this. I'm sure everybody's felt it. You know, I can't describe to you what it is, but you know when something just says to you, I'm not doing the right thing here, or that guy's really hurt when I just insulted that guy. Look, he's crying, you know, or she's crying, or whatever. You know, that wasn't right. And that's why people sometimes feel the need to apologise when they do something wrong. That's their conscience convicting them, hey, I need to right that wrong. So that's what I'm talking about, getting in touch with that instinct.
Listen to the voices talking to you, and give heed to something that is tiny at the back of your mind, but is telling you to do the exact opposite of what you're intending to do. And for a moment, just listen to it and hold yourself back. Thank you for sharing that, Max. I think that was a very powerful start, which came completely out of the blue.
Sorry to ambush you.
No, I'm glad, and that's what this conversation is all about. So bringing you back, be it in those tough times, or now, for that matter, you've always continued believing in working hard. Why, and how important is hard work?
Yeah, work's just so important. I don't think we should ever stop working. I think I've always been. I might not fit the typical mold. I might not arrive on time, and that kind of thing. But I'm consistent. It's like reading that big novel. It might take me 3 years, but I will finish it.
Right.
That's probably consistency. Is where I consider myself a hard worker.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Max, through your journey of your life, there is one thing that I found that stood out, which was see you having a lot of faith in Christianity, in religion, in there being times change. What does faith mean to you, and how important is faith?
So for me, it's pretty much now, you know, like I said, it is my identity now. I'm that convinced that it's true. I'm convinced it's true. So it's not something that I've just arbitrarily chosen because I just wanted to find something that I thought was cool. It's something I've put a lot of thought and research and time and prayer and struggle into coming to this conclusion. Right. But it's sort of, for me, it's what ties me. We were talking about objective morals before. It also ties me into. It sort of squares with my life experience, which is that I think people really are valuable. Right. It really does matter how we treat each other, and we've all got innate value and dignity. So for me, my faith in Christ gives me a rational foundation to understand that people really are valuable and must be treated with dignity and respect, and that it's all worth it. It's worth striving to better yourself, to help that person, never to write them off no matter what, because they've got value. They're created by God for a purpose, and they've got value. So I don't know if I've ever told you this quote. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he was a Russian novelist, and he went through the gulags in Russia. Wow. And he was a Christian, but what he realized, he came to the conclusion. He said, I'm just paraphrasing. Yes, please. But he said, good and evil is not determined by political party, by class, by culture. Thank you. He said the line separating good and evil runs through every human heart. Talk to us more about that. Who decides what is moral, what is immoral, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is evil? So obviously, look, I'm convinced it's God. Yes. And it's not something He's decided. It's something that's rooted in His eternal, unchangeable character. So it just flows from His very being. Right. That's the only way I'm convinced you can have a moral absolute. Otherwise, it's just the production of a finite mind. Right. Just and that's it. But what about someone who's not on that journey? There are so many. So I want to be clear. Like, I don't think that people that don't have a faith are bad people by any stretch. So I'm convinced all people, Christian or non-Christian, Buddhist, non-Buddhist, Jew, whatever, both have this incredible mix of Jekyll and Hyde. These two personalities and what it is if you can picture God's moral moral absolutes as a line, right? This is us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So sometimes we're in touch with it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we are. It doesn't matter what our religion is. Sometimes you can be anybody, and you can be right in touch with God's perfect moral truth, and then you go, and then you go down here, and then you go up here, and then you come back in line with it. So that doesn't change. We change.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think yes, it kind of helps put things into perspective. That the message of religion is very, very absolute, the way Max put it. It's what you like to call it is the moral absolute. It's our perspective, our understanding that keeps on, and obviously our distance to it, our belief in it that keeps on like making us go like around it. It's how you understand it, how you treat it, or how you believe in it that helps you kind of get onto that path or not. For people who are far away from this path, or people disconnected to this path, can they still find happiness?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So again, you know, it's, you know, I'm convinced happiness is just a state of mind. You can be happy no matter what's going on around you. You just got to smile. Just choose to be happy. You know, there's people that you see in life, and they've got everything's fine, and they're miserable. Because they've chosen to be miserable. Right. You know, I'm convinced of that. So yeah, I think you can be happy this second. You don't need anything or anyone. You just smile, be happy.
So beautiful. With that does. Would you like to add something before?
Only that. You know, we're ruled by ego and pride, and a desire to defend ourselves emotionally. So when we're treated badly all the time, we build up barriers and we harden our hearts. But when people are kind to you, it's impossible to be rotten forever to someone who's constantly being kind to you. Eventually you go, I can't be mean to this guy anymore. I've got to respond to this. And so when you treat people with love, it can break down those barriers and soften a person's heart, and basically what you said. Yeah.
Then you put it perfectly, right? How much time will a person be rude to you if you're constantly just being kind to them? Ask yourself, when was that last time you had someone really difficult you were dealing with, or someone who had been unkind for that matter? Let's go extreme. Someone's been really unkind to you, your neighbor, your co-worker, your colleague, another family member. They've really been bad to you. Have you tried the route of kindness, and not just once? Because being kind once is just you doing it as a formality, you ticking the box that, oh, I even tried that, it didn't work. Try it genuinely from the bottom of your heart, and if you really want to try it not once, but try it at least 5 different occasions, instances, and if that doesn't work, I can't say change my name, but
I almost guarantee it will work.
That does bring us to the end. Max, really appreciative and grateful for such deep and powerful thoughts. It's something that even I hadn't planned for, but wow, like I told you at the start, do not judge a book by its cover.
I look like a bullfed. I look like a bullfed.
We've got Max, who's really unpacked himself emotionally and given us his really personal thoughts, which are so powerful, and I hope they're helpful to you. So thank you, Max.